Good afternoon and welcome to all of our viewers on KIMA Action News's YouTube channel and to the fifth of our 2024 election candidate debates. I'm John Kennedy O'Connor and I will be the moderator for all 9 debates we have scheduled. This afternoon, the candidates for United States House Washington Congressional District 8 have been invited to answer your questions on the topics that matter to you ahead of you casting your ballot this election. We will welcome your live comments while we're on the air. To comment, you just need to click the subscribe button and you will see yours and other comments on the right of your screen as they appear. However, we will not be putting any of your comments to the candidates during the debate. Now, we're really pleased to welcome to the studio Republican candidate Carmen Goers. Now, unfortunately, Ms. Goers' opponent, Representative Dr. Kim Schreier, the Democrat incumbent in this seat since 2019, has declined the opportunity to take part in this debate. Dr. Schreier's campaign sent us this statement. Thank you again for the invitation, but we are going to have to stick with our original decision to decline due to time constraints. Now, we have allowed 1 hour for each debate with 2 candidates. Today, we will have a 30-minute broadcast. The rules of the debate, though, will be the same as any other where both candidates decide to participate. I will ask a question that the candidates have not been shown, and the candidates will each have 2 minutes to answer, followed by 1 further minute each for rebuttals. But since Congresswoman Schreier has declined to participate, Carmen Goers will be given up to 3 minutes to answer each question uninterrupted. Ms. Goers has already recorded a personal statement, which you will find on our YouTube channel. Carmen, I really want to say thank you very much indeed for being with us today and this afternoon, and I'd like to start with the first question. And the first question comes from an Action News viewer in Ellensburg. The WA 8th Congressional District is a very large area, taking in multiple counties. With that comes different issues and communities from isolated rural areas to cities. What assurance will you give that you will make decisions that support the lives of the people who are not just in the population centres of the district, but for the people who live and work across the mountains to the valleys? And Ms. Goers, you have up to 3 minutes for your answer.
Well, thank you. And that's a great question. So just so that everyone's aware, the 8th Congressional District actually goes through over 7,000 miles and 6 counties. So yes, we're in East King, East Pierce, East Nahomish, Kittitas-Chelan, and then out to Douglas County. And what I've been doing for the last 16 to 18 months is crisscrossing the district from Manson to Enumclaw to Arlington, all the way reaching out to every corner to ensure that I understand the issues that are arising within that district. I plan to continue that as your Congresswoman. I've received endorsements from over 60 local electeds because I've reached out, gone to community to understand those needs, and will continue to do that. As a commercial banker, I have served the 8th Congressional District from our agricultural to our aerospace, our manufacturing, and our service industries throughout the districts. So I'm really confident and competent to be able to address and continue to make those connections. As an engaged community member, I have served in our prison ministry system. I have served our youth that are aging out of foster care, and they go through the gamut of all the districts that cover the 8th Congressional. So I'm really proud that it's not going to be a new format. It will be what I've been doing and will continue to do. And so I will continue to reach out to our rural communities because, in fact, we really don't have a large city within the 8th Congressional. Our largest are Wenatchee, Leavenworth, Issaquah, but we have tons of rural and small towns that I've reached out to make sure that we meet those needs.
Well, thank you very much, Carmen, for your answer. And our second question this afternoon comes from an Action News viewer in Kittitas County. What are your top 3 priorities? And if elected, how will you ensure you've made progress or indeed resolved those issues before the next election? And once again, Ms. Goers, you have up to 3 minutes.
Up to 3 minutes. Thank you. Well, you know, I have lived, worked, and played in the 8th Congressional District for now over 20 plus years. And I believe one of the reasons I'm running is because I believe that we've been underserved and underrepresented. You know, when I'm at the doors, I'm in community at various events and on parade routes that I've done over 20 in this last summer alone. I'm hearing that it's the price of our cost of living, the price of groceries, the price of gas, the price of utilities. And where our Congresswoman, I believe, has failed us is, you know, she committed to being the voice of agriculture, helping our farmers. Well, yes, eggs are up 90% since she's been in office in the last 5.5, nearly 6 years. She has not passed the Farm Bill while she's been the chair of the Farm Bill Task Force. I plan to get in there and work on those issues. You know, I'm in support of conserving our dams. It's a great source of clean, renewable, and affordable energy for all of us. So tearing the dams down does not help our families. That's another major area that I want to focus on and bring forth to. And that does not mean that we don't work on our salmon recovery, because right now with the innovation that we have going on, we're able to recover our salmon while maintaining our dams. And I want to continue that innovation and work with those industries to ensure that. Those are the primary issues. The other issue that we need to address is the rise in crime. Do we feel safer now than we did 6 years ago? And while my incumbent, who's not here, has mentioned that she supports law enforcement, she's voted against the police funding bill. She has received funds from those who have advocated for defunding the police. So where her action and her words don't align, I stand here being endorsed by WA Cops and being endorsed by our King County Officers Guild to ensure that we will work together and address those issues and concerns.
Well, thank you very much indeed,
Great
Carmen.
question.
And I do want to remind viewers that Congressional Representative Dr. Kim Schreier, the incumbent Democrat candidate in this race, was invited multiple times to be with us for this debate, but she has declined to participate. Moving on now to our third question today, which again comes from an Action News viewer in Ellensburg. The price of a college education continues to soar. Will you be focused on lowering the price of a higher education or finding a way to make it easier for people with college debt to pay off their loans? And Ms. Goers, once again, you have 3 minutes to answer.
Well, having 4 adult daughters and having to face those college bills myself, it is a lot. It's a lot to manage. And what the areas I plan to work on are really helping and focusing on our community colleges, providing the resources that our youth can be educated to obtain that. The current desire for our administration to waive college debt can be addressed by providing civil service and supporting that. So when you've served in the public arena, we're able to forgive debt accordingly. We do that currently, I believe, with nurses and teachers, and I'm expanding that. We have a need for healthcare workers. We have a need for mental health workers. And so really focusing on ways that we can use a carrot to encourage that and make it affordable will be a priority and will be something that I will look into.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Carmen. Let's move on to our fourth question this afternoon. And this question also comes from an Action News viewer in Cle Elum. How will you remain connected to your electorate in central Washington while working in Washington, D.C.? And of course, Carmen, you have 3 minutes again. 3
minutes again. Thank you. This is the part that's really not new. Having been a mom of athletes, and we're up every Saturday morning driving to Darrington or Cle Elum or over to Forks for events. What you've seen in the last 18 months of my campaign is me coming across the district on several occasions. I've been to Manson, I think 3 or 4 times. I've been through Leavenworth. We were just in Leavenworth last week. I plan to maintain that schedule. Fortunately, I'm an empty nester. My kids are all out of the house while they still live close by. And, unlike my incumbent, I plan to be very present in community when and where I can, as often as I can. My house is in South King County, but we have picked up our chains and we're driving over the mountain on a regular basis. And that's what I will continue to do as your elected Congresswoman. I'm very appreciative of the opportunity.
Thanks so much, Carmen. Well, I do want to remind everyone watching that you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, and that will give you access to the live chat to the right of your screen. We hope you'll join in the discussion. Let us know, is Carmen answering your questions? It's up to you to tell us. But let's move on now to our fifth question in today's forum. And this question comes from an Action News viewer in Kittitas County. How can we best use our public lands to their highest potential? And again, Ms. Goers, you have 3 minutes to answer.
Thank you. Our public lands are really crucial, and they're really a big part of who we are in the 8th Congressional District. I've had the opportunity to survey parts of Kittitas and Chelan counties, respectively. And what I do know is that when we work with our local stakeholders, they really are able to tell us where the best and highest use can be. I've reached out to communicate, and I plan to continue working with our local electeds, our local forestry officials to ensure that we are using the highest and best use. Now, having said that, we have our entertainment section, we have our visitor section, we have to protect our wildlife, and really land forest management will be imperative so that we can mitigate and reduce the intensity of the wildfires that really impact our federal forest lands.
Thank you, Carmen. Now, I do want to remind viewers that the Congressional Representative, Dr. Kim Schreier, the incumbent Democrat candidate in this race, was invited multiple times to be with us for this debate, but she declined to participate. So moving on now to our sixth question, which comes from an Action News viewer, again in Kittitas County. In the race for this congressional district seat, there are 2 women with different ethnic backgrounds on the ballot. But how can you reassure voters that whoever is elected, you can effectively represent the entire community that has a very wide and ethnically diverse population? And again, Ms. Goers, you have up to 3 minutes.
Yeah, these are excellent questions. And I really appreciate the thoughtfulness thereof. You know, I'm not just an African-American woman. I'm a former military spouse. We served overseas in the late 80s and the early 90s. So we were in Berlin when the wall was up. We were in Berlin while the wall was coming down. And we were part of the brigade that closed the unit and returned back home. We've served in 3 different countries and 5 or 6 different states over the course of our military career. And it's interesting that my children graduated from a high school that spoke over 100 different languages. And so really well versed in asking questions and seeking understanding of people and their needs before trying to help resolve or have a comment about an item. You know, as a Congresswoman, I believe it's important that we have a ear to hear, a heart to listen, and hands to serve. And I plan to bring that to the 8th Congressional District. You know, the incumbent at this point, you know, I've been out on the campaign trail, and very seldom has she made time to meet with our constituents. I've been in many different forums in many different locations across the district, from King County again over to Chelan. And every time I'm in the presence, people are telling me what they're hearing, what they're feeling, and what they're looking for in the next Congresswoman. And I could tell you that as a mom, as a grandmother, as a community engaged community leader, it is consistent and incumbent upon me to continue to reach out and to respond to the needs of our constituency. I look forward to being an effective leader in doing that.
Now, can I just throw you a curveball just for a second? This is my own question, just to follow up on that. But how would you very specifically address all the men who are watching who've only got to choose between 2 women?
Well, I have grandsons. There we go. No, but for the men that are listening, and again, not to dismiss that, but your voice is being heard. When I'm knocking on doors, I'm talking to male voters as well. You know, as a commercial banker, sometimes with my male constituents, we wanted to know about the hard numbers and the real facts. And what I could tell you is that while I've served on a microfinance nonprofit board, I joined the board when we literally had days of cash on hand. We right-shipped that financially, that organization, and we're able to move programs forward as I became chair of the organization. I have since left. We had term limits. I appreciate that, but we had term limits. And as I left, that organization continues to thrive. Our mission was self-sufficiency through self-employment, providing tools and resources for our community members to learn how to take their skills and have self-employment. And we did a great job in doing that. And we expanded into various programs as well as various languages throughout the district.
Welcome, and thank you for taking that curveball. I appreciate that. It's interesting there have been so many ballots in this race where it's just 2 men or just 2 women. There aren't that very many where it's one or the other. Anyway, but thank you very much, Colin. And let's move on now to our question number 7. And this question comes from an Action News viewer in Ellensburg again. Is anyone in this nation above the law? And should anyone convicted of any crime relating to the January 6 riots in our nation's capital be pardoned for their crimes? Ms. Goers, you have up to 3 minutes to answer.
Thank you. You know, I believe in our justice system, and I believe in the fairness, and we have the ability to contest verdicts. We have the ability to contest elections. We have all that, and I believe in the soundness of us coming together and at the point that we have resolution to a problem, that we adhere to that. Now, as we go forward in this next election cycle, I pray for peace. I pray for a peaceful transition of power. I pray that we all get out there and make our voices heard. What I don't agree with is the hostility that we have towards one another. And so I would like to see us bring back the integrity and the respectfulness of each of us having our own voice. And as it comes to those that have been convicted, it's really up to our legislature and our elected officials at their appropriate levels. So I will not weigh in on the pardoning because that would not fall within my job duties as assigned.
Well, thank you very much. I do want to remind everyone watching that you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, and that will give you access to the live chat to the right of your screen. We hope you'll join in the discussion. Of course, if you're watching also on Facebook, you can join in the discussion there as well. Moving on now to our 8th question, which comes from an Action News viewer in Chelan County. Law enforcement and their protocols are in the spotlight and have been for years. How will you support the people who enforce the law? And once again, Ms. Goers, you have up to 3 minutes.
Thank you. I've been endorsed by WACOPS and King County officers. And I believe that as a representative of the 8th Congressional District, that we need to provide them with the tools and the resources. And that includes the mental health care, and that includes the training, and that includes supporting our law enforcement officers. It has been my experience in working with law enforcement in military and in civilian that they're 100% for community members. They're looking to engage in the safe factor. I want to hopefully bring back our, provide funding to hopefully support our resource officers for our local schools. And in doing that, help provide a safe community. But our officers are built for accountability. And they, in my experience, have always welcomed the accountability and having conversations with community to retain that.
Thank you very much, Carmen. Our next question comes from an Action News viewer actually here in Yakima. How will you work collaboratively with your fellow congressional members of all parties, the Senate, and even the White House if the opposite party is in the majority? Once again, Carmen, you have up to 3 minutes to give your answer.
We're on a 3-minute theme here, aren't we? Yes. My history of volunteerism reflects my ability to work across the aisle and work with those that want to work to get things done. As I mentioned earlier, I served on a nonprofit board in microfinance. In that board, I worked with a person who is now a sitting Democratic senator in the state of Washington. We worked collaboratively to get things done. In fact, she was my vice chair on that committee before I termed out and left. And so there is evidence and proof in my work history, in my volunteerism, that I work to solve problems. I work to resolve. I work to move things forward. And those that are here to get that done, it is imperative that, and the American people are asking us to get that job done. I've also served in our prison system, working with people that are from various different backgrounds. And what I learned in that time was how the plight of our foster youth and what they're going through. And in working with those young ladies specifically, it's about the mentorship and listening to hear and understand before being understood. I will bring those same skills to Congress as your Congresswoman, and expect to speak with people who I don't necessarily agree with. But when we work together and when we listen to each other, we will find that best path forward when we have balanced ideas and democracy in the Congress.
Thank you, Carmen. Appreciate your answer. And our final question in this election candidate debate comes from an Action News viewer, and they're asking, how do you plan to raise the day-to-day quality of life for all residents across this very large district? And Ms. Goers, you have 3 minutes for your final answer.
Thank you. You know, our quality of life here in the 8th Congressional District really starts with our home life. And how do we improve our quality of life and our cost of living in maintaining our forests, maintaining our way of life here, supporting our farmers. Many people don't realize that we're losing, on average, a dozen family farms every month here in the 8th Congressional District. And it's really difficult for us to have a sustainable quality of life without our agricultural division and our farmers. And I really want to work to getting our farm bill completed. I want to work on our safety and security. I want to work on bringing all those things back home to support our communities. Again, I've been endorsed by over 60 locally elected officials, and that's because we're going to work together, because politics is really local. It comes down to your mayors, your city council members, but my job would be to help support them and our nation in bringing forth what we need to have better infrastructure and a better education system for our children in the future.
Well, Carmen, you've burned through the questions very quickly, but I think you've given very, very succinct, clear answers, so we do actually appreciate that.
Well, I try to be brilliant and brief.
Well, and maybe you achieved it both, but I'll let the viewers decide that one. I won't comment on that.
Yes, I'll leave that.
But that is all of our time for our 5th 2024 election candidate debate. I want to thank Carmen Goers very sincerely for being with us tonight and for taking our viewers' questions. And I want to thank you for watching and for all of your questions and comments. Once again, we are sorry that the Democrat candidate, incumbent congressional representative Dr. Kim Schreier, declined our invitation to debate with her opponent, but we hope you have found this discussion helpful in making up your mind for the upcoming election in this race. Our next debate is tomorrow, Friday, October 18th at 7 p.m, when the candidates for Legislative District 14, Representative Position 2, will be invited to join us here in the KIMA Action News studio. We'll once again be live on our YouTube channel and Facebook at 7 p.m. We hope you'll join us tomorrow. Goodbye.